sharing with you all the nuggets of transforming your mind and how your thoughts have to line up with your actions, because this is something that I'm always trying to say, because I see brilliant people. Like you said, you've worked with millionaires. You've worked with people who are heirs. We'll just put it that way. Heirs, zeros. But I mean, the point is, it's not really about intellect.
No.
It's not about you've got to have a high IQ. It's about what you said: mindset, consistency, diligence. You've got to work the plan. So that's why we're here. We're trying to help you work a plan. And I'm going to continue to ask Mrs. Tammy Price some more questions. Now, this is a question. I got to hear this.
Let's go.
When someone first gets a call from collections, gosh, I wish I would have known this 20 years ago. What is the biggest mistake they make in that conversation?
Ooh, girl. Okay. Biggest mistake people make in any collection call is they talk too much.
I knew it.
Too much. Watch this. Awkward silence. Awkward silence. So what was your brain doing while I paused for a second? There was a she's or glitch. What was going on, right? So I want you to think about this. When people feel nervous, they start explaining their entire life story, or they over-explain things. But what you don't know is collectors are actually trained to guide conversations toward payment commitments, toward resolution. Collectors are actually trained to have a psychological pause. Then they're even trained that the next person who speaks loses. Oh, that's weird. Wait a minute, watch this. Hey, Jeanette, were you aware that this bill was like 80 days past due? What does Jeanette do? Oh my gosh. No, I had no idea. Or oh yeah, I've been really struggling. Instead of just saying, oh yeah, or oh no. Because you can reverse this on them. And it becomes very fun to be comfortable with the silences. So a really good response to say when collectors are guiding that conversation is, I'm reviewing my finances, I'm gathering information. Please send written validation of the debt, including the contractual agreement, itemized statement, and anything else that backs up the validity of this debt. I will review it and we can connect at a later time. This does a couple things. This puts you back in the driver's seat. This also allows them to prove that, number one, they should be collecting on the debt, because like I said, there's a lot of fraud and scams going on out there. You have to protect yourself. You also need to know, okay, well, what is it I'm paying on? Because especially if it's a medical debt, we do not want to pay anything that insurance was supposed to cover. If they're sending an itemized breakdown, you're going to be able to see, oh, this, and you're going to be able to pull out your insurance paperwork or call your insurance company or whatnot and say, hey, I'm getting this. What happened with the insurance payment, right? Because sometimes they bill things wrong, they miscode things, or they just never submitted it to the insurance company, and unfortunately it's like, okay, well, we can correct this if we know it, but we don't know it because we're not asking for the validation. So this is something that's going to be super, super helpful for you. The other thing too is a lot of people don't realize this, and this is kind of like a surprise thing. They don't realize that collectors often know very little history about the debt they're calling on. Most agencies, they look at a screen, it shows a balance and an account number and contact information, and it may have notes if there were prior conversations with the collection agency. They may be able to pull up PDFs of contract or PDFs of itemized statements or more detail, but oftentimes they don't review all these things in great detail. So when they're calling you, they're, hey, you owe X amount to JCPenney. Oh my gosh, I owe X amount to JCPenney. The sky is falling, right? No. We ask for validation. So that's why asking for written validation of the debt is so important. You've got to protect yourself. And also it puts a verbal communication to the collection agency or the creditor that you know what you're doing. You're not going to be taken advantage of. You're not going to be fooled. That's it.
Wow, that was invaluable information. I think the first thing I thought when you started talking was that collections agents are excellent negotiators, and most people, unless you are in some type of sales, and even if you're in some type of sales, they don't necessarily teach you negotiation in terms of high pressure negotiation. So that means if you aren't realizing, first of all, you already need to be negotiating from Jump Street, because in truth, you're negotiating every day. Everything is a negotiation. But we, as I would say, consumers are not really taught to think that way. We're taught to think, I don't even know why I'm going here, but I'm going here for some reason. Something is a set price. We're taught to think, a bottle of water is a set price. But what if you said, even if you just got in the habit of saying, well, can I get that for 20 cents? Okay, they probably won't do it. But I'm just saying, technically, what is it really worth? So we have to recognize that we are dealing with experts here. These people are well trained. They're highly trained. And our job, therefore, is to make sure, as you said, that we're educated as well. I love what you said about putting the onus on them. Please send written validation so I can review it and we can talk at another time. That puts the onus on them. And as you said, now they'll be like, oh, I'm dealing with an educated consumer. I can't bully this person around like I could bully around Susie or John or whomever I talked to before. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And speaking of negotiation, from the collector's perspective, when is someone in the strongest position to negotiate a reduced payoff?
This one's tricky. I love that you asked this. It depends on the kind of debt it is, how far past due you are, because a lot of people be like, hey, Tammy, I'm calling you for those who don't know, I do private consultations for singles and married people. And one of the biggest questions I get is, hey, Tammy, I'm current on all my things, but I want to be done with payments. Can I negotiate when I'm current? And the answer is no. You're not considered a risk if you are current and not past due. So in order to negotiate, number one, unfortunately, for the most part, you have to be past due. Are there exceptions to that? Yeah, a lot of times medical bills, hospitals, that sort of thing, they will negotiate with you without you being past due on it. But a simple way to start that conversation is asking, and again, this is for the person who's past due, if I were able to come up with a lump sum of money to resolve this account, would your company be able to do some kind of reduced payoff? And for me, when I work with people one-on-one, I teach them a slightly different, more aggressive way to get what they want with that, because they can always come back saying, oh no, we can't give you a reduction, sorry, because of how that question is phrased. So I'm going to drop this for you here because you're watching this, you're listening to this. So the way to ask that question is, I have money set aside to be able to settle a certain number of counts. What can we settle this for?
Woo!
Now, hold on, don't go crazy yet, girl. Hang on. You do not ask that unless you do have money set aside. Don't go there, because if you go there and you're just trying to get a number and you're not able to back it up and close the deal, then they can yank settlement off the table. It's a pain in the butt to try and get it back again, because there's no guarantee they'll get it back, right? So do not do that unless you have money set aside. And if you're stuck in that, then we got to connect. So you ask that question, you stop talking, apply duct tape, do that if you have to, right? Silence is actually one of the most powerful negotiation tools. You pause after that question. So that question again is, I have a lump, I have a few different debts I'm working through. I have some money set aside. What can we do to settle this?
That is a gem. And those of you who are listening, I'm not going to repeat the question because she repeated it twice. The only thing I'm going to say is silence is a gem. And
I've done that. Girl, when I've done collection calls, I myself will go and just sit there waiting for them. Because why? Because we have a tendency when we're feeling emotional, we're feeling excited, we're feeling nervous to overtalk. Collectors do it too. So like use that strategy and a tool to be able to help you through that. Okay. And I would like to ask you a question.
Sure.
If you're open for it. This is
sure. We're just talking.
right. All right, cool. So how many people do you think are out there dealing with debt stress, but feeling embarrassed to talk about it?
Like what percentage?
Yeah, like throw a number out there, like of your list common thing, or
I mean, for sure, over, I would say 95% of the population.
Yeah, then that's a really high percentage, right? So that's why I created my free Facebook community, is for people who were just going, oh my gosh, I'm buried in the emotions or the stress or the guilt or the shame or whatever. So like it's free, and I invite everyone in here to find it on Facebook. It's called Mind Over Money Community.
Yes, and you heard it here. I mean, I'm in the community. I may not always be commenting, but I'm always looking at the post because again, you've got to get around like-minded people because, we were in a program, like I said, with Danny Johnson. I mean, I just enjoyed it so much, really not even so much because of the information. It was the community. Like I really went for the community because when you are focused on a goal, whether it's getting out of debt, if you want to lose weight, if launching a business, you're looking to, invest a certain amount, it helps when you're around people who are doing the same.
Yeah.
If you're around people who aren't doing the same, it becomes kind of like a tug of war because they're like going out and spending money and they're inviting you. And you're like, for me, I was like, oh, no, thank you.
Right.
I'll be at home this weekend, enjoying the beach for free.
There you go. There you go.
So get in that community, and I will have the link to that community, and I'll put all of Tammy's contact information in the actual comments. But it's very important because just even, again, renewing your mind. I hate to say this, but something that I've learned in this money journey, and I am debt free. I have paid off my mortgage. I have paid off my rental property. I do have yes, I am happy about that. The thing that I'm working on really is retirement funds. But even with that, I know that I'm not going to ever retire. I just want to retire from a 9-to-5, but I'm never going to retire like, not be working. But the thing about it is you can't ever let your guard down. I hate to say that, but, and I brought this up in a broadcast before, and it made me realize this is what happens. People get complacent.
Yes.
You may pay out. You get to a certain point, because it happened to me. I got to a certain point. I was like, yeah, free, woo-hoo! I got to pay no bills. I'm excited. And then, yes, I was saving money, but technically I was losing money because I just had it in a savings account and it wasn't keeping up with inflation. And I wasn't investing for the long haul. So I wasn't being wise with my money, because the bottom line is, when you are, at least when I was in debt, my whole goal was to get out of debt. But then your mindset needs to be, well, what happens when I get out of debt? What I'm going to do with all this money? You got to put it somewhere, and you got to maintain, and multiply. And that's why it's important to be around communities of people who aren't just like, getting to debt is really getting to zero. We don't want to.
Yes.
We don't want to talk about it, but you're basically at zero.
But think about this, like what you aim at, you're going to eventually get with consistency. If your aim is just to get out of debt, that is zero, right?
Yes.
And you've heard, I'm sure if you've been listening to the show for any length of time, you've heard about bad debt, and you've also heard about good debt, which is the cleanest definition that I have for it is bad debt costs you time and emotions. Good debt is going to be receiving money for what you invest in. So it's a return on interest, ROI, right? And good emotions. So being able to aim for being debt free, but also, okay, let's make our money babies make babies. Like let's figure we're leveraging our money and our time and our
Yes.
relationships in a way that there is a return, not through using people, through loving people, not through using people, but serving people, not through using money in a negative way, but being able to use it from a place of love. If we're going to give, are we giving with a full, excited, enthusiastic heart, or are we giving because we feel guilty because the pastor said, oh, you got to give, you got to tithe, right? Because if there's any negative emotion or heart posture around it, don't do it. Plain and simple. Don't do it. Now, I'm not saying not to tithe. I'm saying take that to God and ask him to work your heart and help you
Yes.
in understanding on that. There should be no external pressure to give, to tithe, to serve, to love others.
That's right. That's right. I agree 100%. You need to be a cheerful giver, a cheerful server. But as you said, the most important thing is it's not even about money. It's really about the posture of your heart. And if
Yeah.
your heart is bitter in a certain area, we do have to go to the Father, because I know I've been there. And you have to say, why is my heart bitter? Show me. Create in me a clean heart and a renew right spirit within me. We just all need to pray Psalm 51.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes. So now let's talk about this. And I think this is a question that I'm curious about from your perspective, because people hear stories about settling debt for 30 to 40 cents on the dollar. We talked about that a little bit in terms of, the key phrase to say,
Yep.
if you are past due. We're not going to repeat it because she already repeated it twice. But from your experience, how realistic is that? And what determines the amount? Like, is there a certain percentage that collectors are looking for in terms of accepting if you say, what can we settle this for?
Yeah, so love this question. And again, there's multiple factors that come into consideration. Okay, so if you are dealing with a third party collection agency, which means they were just hired on to act as the middleman, or if you're dealing with the creditor, right? If, excuse me, if the age of the account, how old is the debt? Ownership of the debt. So again, did a collection agency purchase the debt, or are they just acting as middleman, or is it the creditor that's calling you with the debt? The documentation is also a factor. What does the contract say? What are the terms? The financial hardship. So to be able to do a settlement, whenever I was settling with someone, I would literally do a breakdown of bills with them. So like they had to be able to tell me, here's the rent or the mortgage, here's cell phone, here is groceries, here is childcare. Here, like we went through a whole thing, because I didn't want to set up a settlement to have it fall through. I didn't want to set someone up on something that was going to fail them. Okay. So the other thing to consider is, can you afford a lump sum? So like typically on your own, you could probably settle for 90 cents on the dollar or 80 cents on the dollar. You're still saving 10 or 20 cents on the dollar, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like knowing how to posture, knowing your numbers, having an awareness for what the collector's going to try and do or say, or the company, right? You're able to negotiate lower. So like 30 or 40%, that's really going to depend. Like for me, when people hire me to negotiate for them and have those conversations with whoever they're dealing with, my sweet spot is anywhere between, I would say like 50, I'm trying to think. I did a couple for 40%. My sweet spot is between 50 to 70%.
Okay.
So like, and again, all those things take into consideration to be able to settle for, 70% off is a big thing, right? Like that's a lot of money off. So again, the more prepared you are, the more you know your numbers, the more you are able to do in one single payment, because typically settlements, they don't stretch them out. They look to get them paid as quickly as possible, one payment, 2 or 3 max, and they're done. I've been able to get companies to settle on payment plans 6, 12 months, but that's a lot about posturing and knowing the inner.
Excellent. Excellent. So I hope you all heard that, what she said. There are a lot of factors, parties, the creditor, the documentation, the terms, financial hardship. And so, even like she said, 50 to 70%, that's her sweet spot. That is amazing. That is excellent. And that makes a significant difference. But even on your own, 80 to 90 cent, 80 to 90, I guess, cents on the dollar, it's better than, paying the full thing. So again, it's important to be aware and to be educated so you're able to do your best when it comes to negotiation. Uh-oh, what's that noise? Oh no. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We're just about to wrap up this time. I think actually Tammy has answered the majority of the questions already. I'm just going to ask one more, and then we'll get her information, and then we're going to close out. And I think the main question is, if someone is on the phone with a collector literally right now, and they actually are aware, they know what they have in terms of saved up, they know who the person is, the terms, etc. What script or language would you recommend that they use to start the conversation, or is it the same phrase that you gave us earlier?
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you ask is, they know their numbers, they know what they can do, and they know they're trying to settle or even negotiate a payment plan, right?
Yes.
It's going to be the same script. It's going to be, like, if you've already crunched your numbers, you know what you can do, because collectors are trained to get as much as possible. So whenever I work with someone on negotiations, you offer as little as possible. And of course, expect them to say, oh no, I can't settle for that. I could do maybe X amount, right? Or if you get a really seasoned collector, they're not going to offer you an amount. They're going to try and get you to come up on your number without throwing something out at you, right? So that sounds something like, Jeanette, I've got this bill. I want to go ahead and settle it. I could give you, I know it's 20,000. I have 5,000 that I could pay today, be done with it. And now, Jeanette, being the seasoned collectorbond.com, she's going to say, well, I can't do 5,000 on this. Like, it's a $20,000 bill, Tammy. I can't do 5,000.
I could do 15.
I see. No. There you go. Okay, maybe 15. All right. So 15,000, like, Jeanette, I might be able to come up with 7,000. I might. Can we settle for 7? Like, if I can go borrow an additional $2,000, can we settle for 7? Right?
You can settle for 15.
Right. Oh, see. I love it. We're gonna be here all day doing this. Okay. So, but knowing your numbers and never offering all of what you have set aside. That's the key thing, because if you tell them, hey, I have 5,000 and that's all you have, and they say, hey, I have to have 6,000 today to make this work. You don't have 6,000. You just left yourself hanging. So instead of offering everything that's in your account, know your numbers, give yourself cushion just in case, worst case scenario, you're not able to get down as low as you wanted, but you still have the money to cover it. Okay, fine. You still were able to save whatever that percentage was, right? Don't show, it's like poker. You don't show everyone your cards. That's it.
Okay. Well, I think you have answered the majority of the questions. So first of all, again, I want to thank you so much for coming on and educating our audience about collections, the mind of a collector, renewing our minds, making sure that we're aware of our finances, making sure that we give ourselves grace, that we are not in shame. And the bottom line is, and open our mail.
Open the mail. Pick up the phone. Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
They can't take you to jail, regardless of what they may try and threaten. They cannot take you to jail. They cannot take your firstborn or your secondborn or your thirdborn or your eighthborn.
Excellent. Excellent. You're right. So what do we have we have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So exactly. Let me ask you this. How should people, if people want to use your services, again, I will be posting it after the chat, but in the chat, but how can people get in contact with you, and how can people follow you on your social media?
Love it. So I primarily hang out on Facebook. So if you type in Tammy Price, you'll find me on there. And then I run the free group Mind Over Money. That's free on Facebook. Type it in, make sure you answer the questions and you agree to the group rules, because I will not have anyone in there who's coming in there to try and sell you something or use you or solicit to you or anything like that. That's why I'm such a mama bear. And if you're not going to answer the questions and agree to the group rules, you don't need to be in there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I have a free email list, and it's not to sell you stuff. It's actually like I do a lot of series over the week that will train you up on certain things, you know, and of course I'll have links in there if you want to reach out to me one-on-one or whatever. But those would be the best ways. I am on Instagram. I don't play there as much, but I am on there under The Resilient Tammy. So you can find me there. I do have a YouTube channel, and I'll make sure you get that link too, because I'm having a brain fart on what the link is. I forgot.
It's okay.
We're human. But I do want to leave you with these 3 things. Debt collectors are trained negotiators. Most consumers have never been taught how to negotiate back. Okay, so we got to keep that in mind. We got to become better at this. And the only way we become better is we know what we can and cannot do. What can we pay? What can we not pay? How do we want to pay? Do we feel comfortable giving a check by phone, or do we feel comfortable logging into a website to type in credit card information? Or can we posture it that we're going to go ahead and send a cashier check so they don't have access to our bank account, right? Other point is most people dealing with debt are not failing. I'm going to say that again. You are not failing. You are not failing. Okay. You are simply operating without the information that you need that will help you, whether the information is here, heart posture, or strategy. Come in Mind Over Money. Message me. Let's get that dialogue going so that you can have the information in a way that will serve you. And the final thing is, fear is the most expensive part of debt because it causes people to make rushed financial decisions. We get to step out of fear. The Bible says, do not fear 365 times. That's like enough for every day of the year, right? So we need to really think about that. So again, if you've ever felt embarrassed, overwhelmed, confused, or just shut down dealing with budgeting, debt collectors, you're absolutely not alone. You're not broken. You're not too dumb. You're not too old. You're not too young. You're not the wrong gender. And that is exactly why I created Mind Over Money on Facebook. So come in there, say hello, ask questions, engage, soak up the free information. There's over 50 plus videos free on a variety of topics that I've covered over the years to be able to help you, and it's free.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much for that closing. And I love what you said. Fear is the most expensive part of debt. And I would like to add that fear is the most expensive part of life as well. So let's get out of fear, join the Mind Over Money community, make sure you answer those questions, and then just get, the wealth of resources that are available for you for free. Start somewhere. This is a great place to start. So once again, Tammy, thank you so much for joining us on Wisdom for Your Wallet Wednesday. I pray that you enjoyed it and were blessed as you poured out. I know the viewers are going to be exceedingly abundantly above excited to receive this information. And I will see them next week. In the meantime, I'll see you in Mind Over Money and see the post that you're making.
Sounds good. Thanks again for having me. And I just pray blessings over you and every person listening to this, whether it's the recording, whether it's the day it's posted or years after it's posted. I don't believe in coincidence, and I believe that the right people will hear it at the right time, and they'll share it with the right people at the right time.